What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. It is the 27th day of July, and here we are with about 11 hours left in the day, sitting at $65,000. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here, and let's get into it. We did move up a little bit more than I was personally expecting, but still within the realm of possibilities that we had in mind. We went all the way up to the golden ratio there, 65.7K. Did not make it above 66K, which that was really the call. So moved up a little bit above 65K, and now we are rejecting and moving down is what it looks like. Let's look at the short-term stuff, see what's going on here. I do believe that Bitcoin is in the midst of a move that will take it lower and lower and lower and lower. And it might not just be a straight line like this. Perhaps, we dilly, we dally, we take our time, and then in a month from now we're down here. Perhaps we do move down in a more straight line. I am expecting that August will be a pretty bad month for the price action of Bitcoin and probably the rest of the crypto market as well. But then we should see some recovery going into the rest of the year, the end of the year, maybe even going into midterms and into 2027 as well. Hit that like button again, subscribe. Thank you all. Let's get into it. Okay, 1 hour time frame. Looking at this here. A lot of volume here at the top. That's kind of interesting. It's the weekend, right? Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday comes along. That's probably what it is. Looking like we are finding resistance here. Prior resistance, prior support, and again from a high to a low. That is your golden ratio zone. You tipped it. Found support at the 382. You're back down here now. There is a chance to move up still, but you preserve that chance as long as you're above the 382. As long as we're above 64.9K. If we go below 64.9K, likely we will see lower prices, okay? Looking at this with our indicators, the 1 hour RSI, you have hit the overbought zone. You kind of look like you're aimed for the downside, but overall you are in a more bullish posturing than a bearish one. I don't know how to feel about the 1 hour RSI. I'm going to stick with my initial thought that you've gone up here. You're probably done with your bullish move. Now it's time for the bearish move. How far down will the bearish move take you? Because if you move down and you find support at prior support, you find support here, you can move back up. I mean, there's still a chance, but again, the reason why I was saying you needed to hold this level, is it not there? Let me see. Hold on. The 382 from a high to a low here. The reason why I was saying you need to hold this level is because statistically speaking, after you hit the golden ratio, if you give up the 382, typically you do see lower lows, okay? And really it's the 236. I guess the 236 matters. 64.4K is the real line in the sand, but typically, right, that's kind of the end all be all, but still typically most of the time in the scenarios where you find resistance at the golden ratio and you build higher, you don't go below this line, right? Or at least maybe you wick below it, but you don't close below it. So if we close below 64.9K, I'm convinced that we're going lower. I'm already convinced we're going lower. But 64.4K is really that last nail in the coffin. And whenever I say lower, I just mean lower than this low here at 63.7K. All right. Stochastics do look bearish. The MACD's been green for a second. You're flipping red. And then, of course, we were bullish over the weekend. So that makes me think that we are going to come down. Yeah, we're probably going to come down today, tomorrow, the next day, maybe throughout this week. 4 hour time frame, rejecting the overbought zone, rejecting this area after getting into it, after being so familiar. Now you're not even getting near it. You're actually rejecting this area. You did reject the oversold zone. You've been pretty volatile throughout this range. This doesn't necessarily mean death and destruction, but it does, in my opinion, mean a stop in this movement up. And then again, we look here. You see this bounce, this bounce, this bounce here. All these bounces, they were pretty immediate, right? They gave you higher highs each time, right? This one did not give you higher highs, and you actually kind of hung out in this area before seeing a move up. So it's a little bit of a different behavior producing already a different result. And I think the result to come afterwards is going to be more bearish in turn. Looking at this with our indicators on the 4 hour, the RSI to me is taking a bit of a bearish shape. But it's volatile, to just be honest. Stochastics have hit the overbought zone. It's time to reset. Probably going to reset. I'm sorry, they have reset, so it's probably time to come down. And then the MACD, you have crossed below the zero, and you're actually at a point here where you could find resistance at the zero. This is another kind of bearish thing that's taking shape here, where before you were bouncing off the zero, bouncing off this area here, you're dwelling below there, and now you're looking like you're going to reject. You're going to bounce off the zero from the downside. Just more different behavioral things that are going on here that we didn't have at any of these other lows. And the lower high, just from a simplistic price perspective, that says it all in my opinion. Finding resistance at prior resistance, same kind of trend area, right, with these higher lows. And again, instead of an immediate bounce like we saw, I didn't draw that the best, but you can see what I'm going for. Instead of an immediate bounce, we saw a kind of prolonged drag and then a very small bounce. All of these took you to higher highs. This one's a lower high. The signs are there. The signs are there. We'll see if anybody takes action on these signs. Daily time frame, volume's dying off. As you're moving up, volume is dying off. That's not a good sign, not in my opinion. And the top kind of looks like it's rounding, but more so, I'm not going to focus on that too much. I'm more going to focus on this consolidation range as a whole. And we are at the upper ends where we found resistance before, where we found support before, so it makes sense that we might reject here. This might be a more suitable rejection zone. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that we're going below this low. It doesn't necessarily mean that. But I would expect some type of healthy retracement from this low to this high. We haven't even seen the 382 yet, so that'd be the next target area. Something just below the 382. You've been very volatile throughout this range here, so I don't expect that we're just going to plummet right through the ground. If we just plummet really straight below like 61.5K, that would be a signal potentially that we are in the midst of this bear market finale phase right now. And it's coming up. I mean, man, I think it's going to kick off within the next 30 days. We're in that window where the bear market finale is going to happen. There's all these reasons behind it, but we'll talk about that later. I've talked about that in a few different videos. We'll see if we can remember to talk about it later in this video. I really want to stay on the short-term stuff because it's Monday. Let's stay short-term. We can focus on the long-term stuff as the week develops, or again later in this video. So if we see a drop that's significant, that's substantial, we don't get this kind of volatile squiggly wiggle down. If we see something that's a little bit more dramatic, that might be evidence of a bear market finale move that's coming in right now, that's starting right now. But I would expect, I'm not expecting that personally, I would expect that we do go down to the 382. We probably go just below it, find support there, then we come back up to the 236, find resistance, right? We've been doing this volatile stuff all the way through. I think we're going to do it on the way down too. It's very common to go below the 382, wick below it, but close above it. If we see a wick below the 382, but we close above it, the next target would be back at 64.6K for resistance. And then we come down to the golden ratio and so on and so forth. And that's kind of the expectation. And the way that I have it drawn there, we might find our bear market low in September. And that's totally fine. It could be September. Maybe it's August. Because again, this is just assuming we keep the same pace. At any given moment, we can see this finale come in. And whenever it does come in, I mean, it'll take a week and we'll see some dramatic shifts in the price. Okay, a shift like that from 73.8 to 59.5K. I mean, that's equivalent here, 63 to 52K. We really could go down to 52K, and that's the end of the bear market. I'm personally thinking that we do go a little bit lower than that, but something below 55K, something above or at least around 43K, something in that zone is the expectation overall. That's been the expectation really for months now. Looking at the indicators on the daily time frame, the daily RSI, it's postured in a bullish fashion. It really is actually postured bullishly. That can be determinant in the bearish motive as well. If we go below this trend line that we've been forming since June, well, likely we're going to go back to the oversold zone. Pair that with the fact that we're in a bear market, and we typically do find resistance in this area, right, for however long. I mean, here we broke out of our higher low. We broke out of that phase. Look at that. We broke out of it here. And we did go to the lows of this range, but then we moved up. We didn't actually get oversold. So if we see something like that, that can entice the price action to go higher. It can, but it just depends on where we are. And that's uncommon, by the way. It's actually very uncommon to break out of an uptrend, higher lows, and not get oversold. It's very uncommon. It's very common to get oversold after you break out of an uptrend. Whenever you saw this here, this result where you did not get oversold down here, that's very uncommon, very, very uncommon. But it happened. And then again, you had a little bit of an uptrend. You broke out of it, and again, you had a very bullish move. This was a very bullish move for a bear market. Everybody thought the bull market was kicking off. It's a bullish move for a bear market, but it's not a bullish move for a bull market. Look, let's show you what a bull market move looks like. Ready? That's a bull market move. That's a bull market move. That's a bull market move. This right here, you see the difference? Do you see the difference how that looks, right? Even here in this consolidation, this boring time, look at that movement there. Look at this movement here, right? Look at that. That's a bull market move compared to this slow, tedious move up. It was still nice. It was still good. We were all happy with that move for the time that it was there. But a lot of people, I think, were too happy. And here we are doing bear market things, finding resistance at prior support. So getting into the long-term stuff that I was alluding to a second ago, I think regardless of bottoming in August or September or October, I'm very convinced that it's going to be one of these 2 months. Okay, one of these 2 months. Maybe we see the meat of the move in August, and then the end is in September. Maybe it's all in August. That's the bearish stuff, and September's kind of boring. October kicks off. October will probably be a bullish month. And the reason why I think October is going to be a bullish month is because of the old saying, buy the hype, sell the news. In November, we have the midterm elections, and we have a president in the White House and his administration too, who like to think of themselves as the first crypto administration, pro-crypto administration. They were elected because the crypto, well, not just because of this, but there was a lot, 90% if not more, of the crypto community in the United States voted for this administration because they thought that they would be pro-crypto. Now, a lot of people are saying that because they've gotten into the office, ever since they got into the office, things have been out of whack. You can say that if you want. Maybe that's your thoughts. It's not my thoughts. I think we were at a time, a high point in the market. Things weren't as good as they could have been. And I also think that this administration is strategic. And they know that if they pulled all their cards, they inject that bullish fuel into the market whenever he first got into office. It was 2025, 4-year cycle. It wouldn't have made sense. It would have seemed like a waste. Whereas if we use these bullish things at the end of his administration, going into the next bull market, and even at the very end of this bear market, I think that could catalyze crypto in a very bullish fashion. I'm getting beside myself with my theories. I hope I'm making sense there. All I'm trying to say is, to me, it's always actually made more sense that the Trump administration would start to do bullish. They would get the bullish things in the work. They'd be working on it. And then the plan is to have a bullish finale to his administration, not the beginning of his administration being bullish. So it'll leave a good taste on everybody's mouth. If it was a phenomenal first year or two that he was in the administration, but the last 2 years were bear market and boring times, it wouldn't leave the same impression. Here we are going into the midterms. Typically, and that's just theory again. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what his admin's thinking. But here we are going into the midterms. Historically, we've seen people do this exact same thing, but with oil prices and with stock markets as well. Interest rates going down. Things that people who pay attention to the financial economy and just the financial environment around that surrounds the United States, that they care about, right? Specifically gas prices. And gas prices come down, stocks go up, interest rates go down, typically all around this time, to shift the public view into a dovish kind of position, a bullish kind of position for the current administration. We see it happen with Democrats and Republicans alike. It's a tactic whenever it comes to midterms, whenever it comes to regular elections. It's a tactic, right? Whenever the regular elections came up, Biden dropped the gas prices a little bit, I'm pretty sure. And didn't we also see interest rates drop around that time as well? I'm pretty sure we did. Stock market, was it going to new all-time highs? I don't remember. I would think it was, but all this stuff, we've seen it. We've seen it with both sides. It's not just one side of the aisle that does this deliberately. And Trump is definitely strategic. I think what's going to happen is we're going to go through our bear market. We're going to finish it before the midterms. Midterms are in November, early November, and I think a month out before then, that's when we're going to start to be bullish. Now, typically with the bear market, whenever we end the bear market, we get a big flash down, and then we kind of consolidate for months. We see this like boring price action. Maybe you get a bounce, and then you consolidate here. Maybe you go slightly lower, whatever, but you're just consolidating, being boring. We've been boring now. We're actually in this same range that we've been in for a while. So the length of time for that boring stuff might be shortened. It might be shortened by a little bit. And then, of course, with this bullish event around the midterms, I say the bullish event, the midterms themselves are not bullish, but just this, I would assume, and I am assuming, that the administration is going to inject the markets, right? They're going to do what they can to stimulate the economy, make things seem better than they are presently. They're not doing that now. They're going to do that closer to midterms because they want to have a bigger impact on people's psychology whenever it comes to that. So I think that's going to have an effect on this bear market. I genuinely do, and because of that, I think we'll bottom in August or September. We could bottom in October, but if we bottom in October, we're going to have this rare thing which we don't normally see, a immediate recovery. Right? We're going to have that buy the hype, sell the news going into November. Typically from the bear market lows, we don't see that. Typically we don't, but we'll see how it pans out. I'm expecting August to be the brunt of this move down. I think August will be the month that we see lower lows here. Is it going to be the bear market low? I'm sticking with that call. I'm sticking with that call personally. It could be the beginning of August. It could be the end of August. It could be somewhere in between. Or perhaps we see most of this move happen. We move up a little bit, start off September on a bad note. We get the low in September, and then we start to consolidate, pumping into the midterms. We'll probably be back at this area in price in November. We probably will. We're probably going to see a nice rally going into November for Bitcoin and the rest of crypto. But that's just my thoughts. That's my theory. I don't believe that by the end of the year we're going to be above 100K. I don't believe that by the end of the year we're going to be above 80K. I think these are reserved for next year, and I still think that even after the midterm shenanigans is over and we get this little craze out of the way, maybe we're above here. The bull market is official. We're in. But then we're probably going to pull back. Again, this boring time at the lows, it's going to be hastened, in my opinion, because of the midterms. So we'll probably deal with some boring times after that. It'll confuse people. It'll make them wonder if the bear market's still on. Is this a higher high? Is it actually, or are we still getting a lower high? Is it a lower high from over here? And people will think that we're going to go lower. We'll find support at prior resistance, and then we'll continue to move up. And it very well could be 2027 before we're actually above this price here. And it might even be this time in 2027 before we're above this price. We'll see how it happens. It doesn't have to happen exactly the way that I'm drawing it here, but I've talked about this more than I cared to, so we've gone over this at length a bunch of different times. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.